I am Jarvis, your storyteller. Welcome to the Science Fiction Exploration. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel. Admiral Vex Corax stood motionless before the massive holographic display dominating the command center of Outpost Station Nexus 7. His crystalline eyes, adapted for detecting the slightest anomalies in space, focused on an impossible reading. The warning indicators pulsed an angry red, marking the presence of an unknown vessel that had somehow slipped through the Xylaxian Empire's most sophisticated detection grid. "Magnification maximum," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of 3 centuries of military service. The hologram zoomed in, revealing a sleek vessel unlike anything in the Empire's database. Its hull seemed to drink in the light of nearby stars, making it difficult to focus on any single detail. Lieutenant Commander Naira, his sensor specialist, worked frantically at her console. "Sir, the vessel's energy signature doesn't match any known configuration. It's human." A ripple of disbelief swept through the command center. Humans were known to the Empire, of course, a species barely worth monitoring, confined to their solar system and a handful of nearby colonies. Their ships were primitive, relying on crude fusion drives and clumsy artificial gravity systems. This vessel was different. "Open a channel," Corax commanded, straightening his ceremonial cape. The Empire had protocols for first contact with advanced species, but humans, this had to be some sort of mistake. The holographic display shifted, and Corax found himself face to face with a human female. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with the white uniform she wore, and her eyes held the kind of confidence that made even the Admiral's battle-hardened spine stiffen. "This is Captain Diana Blackwood of the HSS Prometheus. We are aware we have entered Xylaxian space. This is intentional." Her voice carried no trace of fear or uncertainty. Corax's facial ridges darkened, a sign of mounting concern among his species. "Captain Blackwood, your presence here violates 17 different treaties. Human vessels are restricted to." "Those treaties," Blackwood interrupted, "were signed when humanity needed time. That time has passed." Before Corax could respond, his tactical officer shouted in alarm, "Admiral, the human vessel, it's transforming." The Prometheus's hull was indeed changing. Sections that had appeared smooth and featureless moments before were now revealing themselves to be incredibly complex mechanisms. Panels shifted, revealing weapon systems that made the station's own defenses look primitive by comparison. "Impossible," Naira whispered. "Their technology level was assessed less than a stellar cycle ago. This level of advancement would take centuries." Captain Blackwood's expression remained neutral. "Admiral Corax, we're here to negotiate new terms between humanity and the Xylaxian Empire. Your species has dominated this sector of space for too long, restricting the growth and development of dozens of emerging civilizations. That ends today." Corax's training warred with his instincts. Protocol demanded he call for reinforcements, but something in Blackwood's demeanor suggested that would be a grave mistake. "You cannot possibly believe a single vessel, no matter how advanced, could challenge the Empire." A small smile crossed Blackwood's face. "This isn't a challenge, Admiral. It's a courtesy call." She gestured to someone off-screen, and suddenly the station's sensors exploded with new contacts. Ships were appearing everywhere, emerging from what appeared to be tiers in space itself. "By the first star," Naira breathed, her hands trembling over her console. "I'm counting over 300 vessels, all human, all more advanced than anything in our database." Corax felt the weight of history pressing down on him. In all his years of service, he had never imagined this moment, when the Empire's technological superiority would be not just challenged, but utterly obsolete. The humans hadn't just caught up. They had leaped centuries ahead while the Empire wasn't looking. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we should discuss those new terms you mentioned, Captain Blackwood." "A wise choice, Admiral." Blackwood's image shifted as she stood from her command chair. "Humanity has spent the last 50 years preparing for this moment. We've watched as your empire stifled innovation, restricted trade, and prevented countless species from reaching their potential. We're here to ensure that every civilization in this sector has the chance to grow, to explore, to achieve their destiny without imperial interference. The command center had fallen silent, every officer watching the exchange with a mixture of fear and fascination. Korax realized he was witnessing the end of an era and perhaps the beginning of something entirely new. "And if we refuse?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "The Prometheus isn't just a ship, Admiral. It's a statement, a demonstration of what humanity has become while your empire was busy maintaining its status quo. We don't want war, we want change. The choice of how that change comes about rests with the empire." As if to emphasize her point, several human vessels moved into formation around the station. Their movements were impossibly precise, their technology clearly beyond anything the Empire could field. Korax thought of the Empire's response protocols, the fleet movements and battle plans designed to crush any opposition. None of them had accounted for this. "I will need to contact the Imperial Council," he said finally. "Of course," Blackwood replied. "You have one standard hour. The time for humanity to hide in the shadows of the galaxy is over, Admiral. We suggest the Empire adjust accordingly." As the communication ended, Korax turned to his crew. Their faces showed the same realization he had reached. Everything was about to change. The humans hadn't just arrived at the galactic stage, they had kicked in the door. Grand Technologist Akira Vax had never run so fast through the halls of the Imperial Science Academy. Her ceremonial robes, usually kept in immaculate condition, billowed behind her as she burst into the emergency session of the Science Council. The chamber, normally a place of measured debate and careful consideration, was in chaos. "The readings must be wrong," Elder Scientist J. Hull was shouting, his aged hands trembling as he manipulated the holographic display. "It defies everything we know about technological progression." Akira pushed her way to the central platform, her silver-scaled skin reflecting the harsh lighting. "The readings are correct. I've verified them myself." She connected her data crystal to the display system, and the chamber fell silent as new information flooded the screens. The HSS Prometheus hung in space before them, every scan and sensor reading now laid bare for the Council to see. But it was what those readings revealed that had thrown the Empire's greatest scientific minds into disarray. "Their hull," Akira began, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "isn't just armor. It's a living metal composed of billions of nanoscale machines that can reconfigure themselves in real time. They've mastered technology we theorized was centuries away from being possible." A younger scientist, Mex Dorn, stepped forward. "But their energy readings, they're impossible. No containment field could handle that kind of power." "Because they're not using containment fields," Akira replied, zooming in on the ship's power core. "They're using something we've never seen before. The closest analogy would be, they're harnessing microscopic quantum singularities, not just harnessing them, farming them." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Elder J. Hull's face had gone pale. "That's beyond theoretical. The mathematical models alone would take." "They solved it," Akira interrupted. "Somehow, while we were watching their primitive fusion reactors and chemical rockets, they made a fundamental breakthrough in quantum mechanics that we missed entirely." The hologram shifted, showing new data streaming in from Outpost Nexus 7. The human fleet had begun moving, each ship demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't exist. They didn't just bend space, they wrote their own laws of physics. Commander Rax Thorian, the military liaison to the Science Council, spoke for the first time. "How did we miss this? Our monitoring stations have been watching Earth for centuries." Akira's hands flew over the controls, bringing up historical data. "Because we were watching the wrong things. Look at their development curve." A graph appeared, showing human technological progress over the last century. "We focused on their visible industrial development, their public space program, their official military advancement. But here," she highlighted a period approximately 50 years ago, "something changed." The graph showed a subtle shift, almost imperceptible unless you knew what to look for. While the visible markers of human technology had continued on their expected course, power consumption patterns had altered. Resource usage had changed. Tiny anomalies that individually meant nothing. But together. "They hid it," Mex whispered. "All of it. They let us see exactly what they wanted us to see." The grand chamber of the Imperial Palace had never hosted a gathering quite like this. Ancient tapestries depicting Xylaxian victories hung above representatives of species that had once been considered primitive. Captain Diana Blackwood of the Prometheus stood beside delegates from worlds the Empire had suppressed for generations. High Chancellor Merax Vin, the civilian leader of the Empire, found himself in the unprecedented position of negotiating from a point of weakness. His ornate robes, weighted with ceremonial medals, felt suddenly gaudy compared to the simple but elegant attire of the human delegation. "Let us be clear about what happened," Blackwood was saying, her voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. 50 years ago, humanity made a discovery, not just a technological breakthrough, but a philosophical one. We realized we weren't alone in our desire to break free from imperial constraints. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing the secret history that had unfolded beneath the Empire's notice. Images of clandestine meetings between species, hidden technological exchanges, and cooperative advancement that had been masked by elaborate deceptions. The Arcturians provided the theoretical framework for quantum manipulation, Blackwood continued. The Nexus Collective contributed their understanding of consciousness technology integration. The Rigel minds showed us how to transcend traditional computing limitations. But most importantly, we all shared a vision of what the galaxy could become without artificial restrictions on progress. Chancellor Vin leaned forward. "You speak of restrictions, Captain, but fail to acknowledge the chaos that unrestricted development brings. The Empire's guidance has prevented countless wars, stopped dangerous technologies from threatening your dominance," interrupted Ambassador Kyle of the Arcturians, his crystalline form shimmering. "You didn't prevent wars, Chancellor. You prevented competition." Blackwood raised a hand, maintaining the diplomatic atmosphere. "We're not here to assign blame. We're here to build something new. Humanity learned something valuable during our years of hiding, the power of collaborative advancement." The hologram shifted, showing the network of quantum connections the human fleet had demonstrated. "This isn't just a communication system or a power grid. It's a symbol of what's possible when different species, different ways of thinking, work together without hierarchy." A new figure stepped forward from the human delegation, Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's leading quantum physicist. "What you're seeing is the beginning of a galactic neural network, each species contributing its unique perspectives, its particular innovations, creating something greater than any one civilization could achieve alone." The Xylaxian Science Council representatives stirred at this. Grand technologist Akira Vax spoke up. "You're proposing to link all our species' knowledge, our technologies, our very ways of thinking." "We're proposing to end the era of secrets and suppression," Blackwood confirmed. "The network is already active between Earth and our allies. We've seen advancements in months that would have taken centuries in isolation." Chancellor Vin's face darkened. "And if we refuse, if we choose to maintain our independence?" The chamber grew quiet. Blackwood's expression remained diplomatic, but her words carried unmistakable weight. "Chancellor, independence is not the same as isolation. The galaxy is changing. The only choice is whether the Empire changes with it or becomes a relic of a less enlightened age." A subtle shift rippled through the Xylaxian delegates. Their species had always prided itself on being the most advanced, the most enlightened. Now that very pride was being used to guide them toward acceptance. "There is another factor to consider," Dr. Chen added, manipulating the holographic display. "We've detected signals from beyond the galaxy's edge. Something is coming, something that will require all of our combined knowledge and capability to face." The hologram showed patterns of disturbance in intergalactic space, signs of activity that made even the most seasoned Imperial scientists draw back in concern. "This is why we chose to reveal ourselves now," Blackwood explained. "Humanity and our allies have advanced beyond what we thought possible, yes, but even we cannot face what's approaching alone. The galaxy needs to be united, needs to be ready. Chancellor Vin exchanged glances with his advisors. The political implications were clear. The Empire could either join this new alliance as equals or face both internal collapse and external threats alone. "What you're proposing," he said carefully, "would require dismantling systems that have maintained order for 1,000 years. "No," Blackwood corrected. "We're proposing to evolve those systems into something better. The Empire's experience in coordinating multiple species, its diplomatic frameworks, its understanding of galactic-scale logistics, these are valuable. They just need to be repurposed for cooperation rather than control." The human delegation had done their homework. They weren't seeking to humiliate the Empire or destroy its influence entirely. They were offering a way for it to transform, to maintain relevance in a galaxy that had outgrown its old methods. A young Zalaxian diplomat, Tren Voss, spoke up. The trading networks, the security protocols, the communication systems, they could be adapted to serve this new arrangement. "Exactly," Dr. Chen confirmed. "Combined with the quantum network, the Empire's infrastructure could become the foundation of a true galactic civilization, not one based on suppression and control, but on mutual advancement and protection." Chancellor Vin rose from his seat, his ancient species pride warring with political reality. The Empire had always adapted to survive. Perhaps this was simply its greatest adaptation yet. "We will need time to review the specific proposals," he announced. "But I believe we can find a path forward that serves all our peoples." Captain Blackwood smiled, not in triumph, but in genuine satisfaction. "That's all we ask, Chancellor, a chance to build something greater together." As the delegates began to discuss specific terms, the holographic display continued to show the approaching disturbance from beyond the galaxy. The true test of this new alliance was still to come, but for the first time, the galaxy's civilizations would face it united. 1 month after the historic negotiations, the HSS Prometheus hung in orbit above Earth, its quantum-enhanced hull reflecting the light of humanity's home star. Captain Diana Blackwood stood on the observation deck, watching as ships from 24 different species moved through the solar system, their presence a testament to how much had changed in so short a time. "The last of the Empire's suppression protocols have been deactivated," reported Commander Marcus Chen, now serving as the liaison between human forces and the Transitional Council. "The quantum network is expanding faster than we predicted." Blackwood nodded, her eyes fixed on a massive Zalaxian dreadnought that was being retrofitted with human quantum drive technology. "And the signal from intergalactic space." "Growing stronger," Chen confirmed, bringing up a holographic display. "The Rigel mines have confirmed our worst fears. Whatever's out there, it's destroyed multiple galaxies before reaching ours." The display showed vast empty spaces where galactic clusters should have been, missing civilizations that had vanished without explanation. Until now. A new presence entered the observation deck, High Admiral Zena Voss of the former Imperial Fleet, now serving as military coordinator for the United Species. Her cybernetic eye had been upgraded with quantum technology, allowing her to process information at unprecedented speeds. "The combined fleet is almost ready," she announced. 2,000 ships, each incorporating the best technology from all our species. Even a month ago, such cooperation would have been unthinkable. Blackwood turned from the window, and the deep space sensors. "Operating at full capacity," Voss replied. "The Arctarians' crystalline computing matrices, combined with human quantum systems and Zalaxian power distribution. We can now see twice as far as any individual species could before." The observation deck's holographic systems activated, showing a real-time view of the approaching threat. At the edge of their enhanced sensor range, something was moving between the galaxies, something vast. "They call themselves the Void Hunters," a new voice announced. Ambassador Kyle of the Arctarians materialized on the deck, his crystalline form now integrated with quantum communication systems. "The Rigel mines have decoded some of their transmissions. They don't invade galaxies, they harvest them, converting all matter and energy into something else." Blackwood's expression hardened. How long do we have? At their current pace, 6 months, Chen calculated. But they've noticed our preparations. The quantum network's energy signature is visible across intergalactic distances. They know we're here, and they know we're different from their previous targets. Good, Blackwood said firmly. Let them come prepared. They've never faced a galaxy that stood united. The holographic display shifted, showing the incredible transformation taking place throughout the Milky Way. The quantum network now connected thousands of worlds, sharing knowledge and technology at the speed of thought. Species that had been bitter rivals a month ago were now working together, combining their unique perspectives to solve problems that had seemed insurmountable. Chancellor Vin's image appeared next, transmitted from the new Galactic Council headquarters. Captain Blackwood, the last holdout systems have joined the Alliance. The entire galaxy is now connected to the quantum network. Just in time, Blackwood responded, watching as the display showed the Void Hunters approach. Have the Nexus Collective finished their analysis? Yes, Chen interjected. The Void Hunters' technology is advanced, but it's singular in purpose. They've never needed to adapt, never faced real resistance. Every galaxy they've encountered fought separately, each species trying to survive alone. Admiral Voss's cybernetic eye flashed. We won't make that mistake. The combined fleet includes technology they've never encountered. Quantum phase shifting, consciousness transfer, reality manipulation. We've achieved more in cooperation than any of us could have imagined alone. The observation deck fell silent as a new alert sounded. The Void Hunters had accelerated, clearly aware that this galaxy would not be an easy target. They're coming faster than expected, Ambassador Kyle noted. They've never shown this level of concern before. Because they've never encountered anything like us, Blackwood said, a fierce pride in her voice. Humanity hid its advancement to protect our allies, to build something greater than ourselves. The Empire maintained order across thousands of worlds for centuries. The Arcturians mastered the fundamental forces of reality. The Rigel minds transcended the boundaries of consciousness. Apart, we were strong. Together. She left the thought unfinished as the quantum network pulsed with new energy. Across the galaxy, ships of all species moved into defensive positions. Technologies merged and evolved in real time as billions of minds worked together through the network. All fleets report ready, Admiral Voss announced. The galaxy stands united for the first time in its history. Blackwood turned back to the window, watching as the combined fleet assembled. Ships of every size and design, each representing the best its species had to offer, now enhanced by the shared knowledge of all. Send word to all commands, she ordered. The age of division is over. We face this threat as one civilization, one people, one galaxy. The Void Hunters thought they found another victim. Instead, they found the end of their harvest. As if in response to her words, the quantum network flared brilliantly, visible across millions of light years. A challenge and a warning to the approaching threat. This galaxy would not fall. This galaxy would fight. The final battle for the Milky Way was about to begin, but for the first time in cosmic history, an entire galaxy stood as one. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: whether in victory or defeat, they would face it together. Akira nodded. The humans knew we were watching. They knew about the Empire's policy of technological suppression for emerging species. So they created a facade, a carefully constructed image of a species still struggling with basic space flight, while beneath the surface. A new alert flashed across the displays. The Prometheus was powering up its main drive system. Every sensor in range focused on the vessel, and the assembled scientists watched in stunned silence as it did something that should have been impossible. The massive ship didn't just move through space, it stepped through it. There was no acceleration, no visible propulsion. One moment it was there, the next it had traversed 10 light-years instantaneously. That's not hyperspace technology, Commander Thorian said, his military training failing to hide his awe. That's not even close to anything we have. No, Akira agreed. They're using quantum entanglement on a macroscopic scale. They're treating space itself like a fabric they can fold and unfold at will. The energy requirements alone should be impossible, Elder J. Hull finished. Yet they've done it, and not just on one ship. Look. The rest of the human fleet was moving now, each vessel demonstrating the same impossible capability. They weren't just showing off their technology, they were demonstrating complete mastery of it. Akira brought up the latest communication from Admiral Corax. The humans are demanding new terms for their relationship with the Empire, but this isn't a negotiation, it's a fundamental shift in the balance of power. They're not asking for permission to join the galactic community. They're announcing their arrival as its new technological leaders. Commander Thorian's face hardened. The Imperial military will never accept this. We have protocols for dealing with emerging threats. Your protocols, Akira cut in, were written with the assumption that we would always have technological superiority. That assumption is no longer valid. The humans aren't just ahead of us, they're operating on a level we barely understand. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zylaxian Empire had maintained its power through technological dominance for over 1,000 years. Now, in the span of a single day, that dominance had been shattered. We need to understand how they did this, Mex said finally. Not just the technology, the deception. How did an entire species keep this secret for so long? Akira's response was interrupted by a new alert. The Prometheus had returned from its quantum leap, but something was different. The ship's hull was changing, revealing new configurations, new capabilities that the sensors hadn't detected before. They're still not showing us everything, she realized. This is just the beginning. The question isn't how they kept this secret, it's what else they're still hiding. The Science Council chamber, for the first time in its history, fell into absolute silence. The Empire's greatest minds faced a truth they had never considered. They were no longer the masters of their domain. Humanity had not just caught up, they had redefined what was possible. And they had done it right under the Empire's nose. The Imperial War Chamber hadn't been used in 3 centuries. Its vast, circular expanse was designed to hold the entire military leadership of the Zylaxian Empire during times of extreme crisis. Now, as Fleet Marshal Darius Thex stood before the assembled admirals and generals, he realized that no crisis in Imperial history had prepared them for this. The humans have positioned fleet elements at every major Imperial stronghold, he announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. The central hologram showed a real-time map of Empire space, dotted with pulsing red markers indicating human presence. They appeared simultaneously, using their quantum displacement technology. Our early warning systems were useless. High Admiral Zena Voss, her cybernetic eye glowing fiercely, leaned forward. What are our defensive capabilities against their technology? Non-existent, Thex replied bluntly. Our shields might as well be paper. Their weapons systems operate on principles our scientists are still trying to comprehend, and their defensive capabilities. He paused, bringing up footage from an earlier attempted engagement. Watch. The assembled leaders watched as an Imperial destroyer, acting without orders, opened fire on a human vessel. The heavy plasma bolts, capable of reducing a small moon to slag, simply passed through the human ship as if it weren't there. Phase-shifting technology, Thex explained. They can apparently alter their matter state at will. Conventional weapons are useless. Surely they can't maintain such advanced systems across their entire fleet, General Kral argued, his scaled fists clenching. The power requirements alone are beyond our ability to measure, Thex interrupted. We thought we knew the limits of what was possible. The humans have proved us wrong on every level. The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Centuries of military doctrine were crumbling before their eyes. The Empire's mighty fleets, once considered invincible, were now effectively obsolete. A new figure entered the chamber, causing all conversation to cease. Supreme Commander Lyra Zell, the highest-ranking military officer in the Empire, strode to the center of the room. Her ancient ceremonial armor, worn by every Supreme Commander since the Empire's founding, seemed suddenly antiquated. "The Imperial Council has received the humans' terms," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of someone who had seen too much in too short a time. "They're not demanding our surrender. They're not even demanding territory." She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a document written in both human and Imperial script. "They want partnership," she continued. "They're proposing a complete restructuring of galactic civilization, the end of technological suppression, open sharing of scientific knowledge, the right of all species to develop without interference." "Madness," General Kral exploded. "They would destroy centuries of stability." "They already have," Fleet Marshal Thex responded quietly. "The question is whether we help shape what comes next, or stand aside as they reshape the galaxy without us." Supreme Commander Zell raised a hand for silence. "There's more. The humans claim they're not alone. Other species, ones we thought primitive, have apparently been developing in secret. The humans help them hide their advancement, creating a coalition of technologically advanced civilizations right under our noses." The implications hit the chamber like a physical force. The Empire hadn't just missed human advancement. They had missed an entire alliance of species developing beyond their control. "They're giving us a choice," Zell continued. "Join them in creating a new galactic order or become irrelevant. They've demonstrated they have the power to enforce either outcome." Admiral Voss's cybernetic eye whirred as she processed the information. "How many other species are part of this coalition?" "At least 12 that we know of," Zell replied, "including several we've actively suppressed for centuries, the Arctarians, the Nexus Collective, even the quantum minds of Rigel." The chamber fell silent. These were species the Empire had deemed too dangerous to allow unrestricted development. Species whose advancement had been carefully controlled through treaties, sanctions, and sometimes direct military intervention. The humans didn't just advance themselves, Thex realized. They've been protecting and nurturing other civilizations, building an alliance of advanced species while we patrolled our borders against phantom threats. A junior officer rushed into the chamber, face pale. "Supreme Commander, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout Imperial space. The human fleet, they're creating some kind of network." The central hologram shifted, showing streams of energy connecting the human vessels. Space itself seemed to ripple around them, reality bending to their will. "It's not a threat display," Zell said, studying the patterns. "It's a demonstration. They're showing us what cooperation between advanced civilizations can achieve." The energy network was growing, creating patterns of impossible complexity. Where the streams intersected, space itself seemed to become malleable, suggesting capabilities beyond even what they'd seen before. "We have an hour left to respond to their terms," Zell announced. "The Imperial Council is divided. They've asked for our military assessment of the situation." Fleet Marshal Thex stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, with respect, we don't have a choice. We either adapt to this new reality or we become a footnote in history. The humans and their allies have outmaneuvered us completely." "Not through force," Admiral Voss added, her organic eye showing a hint of admiration. "Through patience, through cooperation, through everything we thought made species weak." Supreme Commander Zell surveyed the chamber, meeting the eyes of each leader in turn. These were the finest military minds in the Empire, commanders who had spent their lives believing in Xylaxian superiority. Now they faced a choice between preserving their pride and preserving their civilization. "Then we are agreed," she said finally. "We recommend acceptance of their terms. The age of empire is over. The age of cooperation begins." As if in response to her words, the human fleet's energy network pulsed once, brilliantly, illuminating Imperial space with possibilities none of them had ever imagined.